Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatyata Satarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today I received homework from Sanmukh Prabhu, Samarth Prabhu, Dhananjaya Prabhu, and Shritan Prabhu. Okay, so we'll start with Shritan. Sorry, I was trying to find his email. Okay, so read verse Srimad Bhagvatam 6:245 to 49, and then read the supplementary note for this chapter written by Srila Prabhupada and explain what you learned from these verses. Answer the question, since Ajamila was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, how was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? That's question one. And question two, write in general what you learned from reading Srimad Bhagvatam 6 Canto chapters 1 and 2 about Ajamila and chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, so question one. From these verses, I can understand that by the chanting of the holy name, even if one is sinful, it will liberate you. This reminded me of the verse 9:32, where it says, even the lowest of the low can approach Krishna. Ajamila once was a proper Brahmana, but he had bad association. Although his life from a spiritual perspective was going downhill, he named his sons after Krishna. And by chanting those names faithfully, he was able to go back home, back to Godhead. By chanting the holy names repeatedly, he was unconsciously progressing in the path of bhakti. The explanation for this is that the Shastras say that even chanting once the holy names properly would cleanse you from sins from multiple lifetimes. Therefore, Ajamila was liberated at the end of his life when he thought of Krishna. Question 2. I learned from these two chapters the strength of the holy name and the position of a pure devotee. The holy name by Yamaraj is described to be the ultimate protector and ultimate cleanser of all sins. He also gives a warning to the Yamadutas to stay away from any devotee because of their protection by Krishna himself. Ajamila acts as an example to tell us that the holy name cleanses as well as protects. We see this from the Vishnu Dutas protecting him and confirming he is liberated. Okay, thank you, Shritan. Next. One second. I have to find. Okay, so Daniel Prabhu. Dhananjaya Prabhu, sorry. So, Dhananjaya Prabhu writes, write in general what you learned from reading Srimad Bhagvatam 6th Canto, chapters 1 and 2, about Ajmila and chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, point 1. I need to rely on Krishna for protection. When Ajmila was in his youth, he was in a much better position to know who Krishna was. By making offerings and to obtain the goal of life. I doubt I could be as Brahminical as Ajamila was in his youth. And he started his fall down based on one illicit activity. I've seen many examples on TV of sinful activity. Read about it in books, and I'm sure my schooling has provided me with plenty of examples of bad behavior and philosophy. Okay, sorry, one second. Haribol? I'll be ready soon. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Haribol. I am sure my schooling has provided me with plenty of examples of bad behavior and philosophy as study material. I resonate with the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2, 24 to 25. We learn that if I ever want to overcome all my sins, I need devotional service. To quote the purport, when one is situated on the platform of devotional service, one is freed from impediments and completely satisfied. Along with devotional service, the purport further says, Ajamila began to lament for his past materialistic activities and glorified the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somehow, I missed the realization I am glorifying Krishna in the chanting of his name. Ajamila was able to name his son by the grace of the Lord in 6.2.32. The purport quotes from Bhagavad Gita 15:15. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And further states, thus the Lord from within gave Ajamila the opportunity to name his youngest son Narayana so that, in affection, he would constantly call Narayana, Narayana, and thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of his death. From the quotes in verse 32, and from the purport in verse 32, I come to the following conclusion: Krishna is calling us home, and this mercy is causeless. Somehow, I must always hold on to this process, not let any obstacle allow me to forget this amazing gift, and not waste decades in irreligion, suffering the material nature. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so thank you, Dhananjaya Prabhu. Good. And then Samart, read verses Srimad Bhagavatam .45 to 49, and then read the supplementary note for this chapter written by Srila Prabhupada. Explain what you learned from these verses. And then answer the question, since Ajamila was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, how was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? And next, write in general what you learned from reading Srimad Bhagvatam 6 Canto chapters 1 and 2 about Ajamila and chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, so Simarth writes, answer the question 1. By reading the verses, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.45 to 49, I learned the following. 1. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.45. Ajamil, even though he became the most fallen, he was immediately rescued simply by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name Narayana. Point 2. Therefore, devotional service which starts with chanting and glorifying the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality Godhead should be undertaken by one who actually desires to be free from material bondage and get out of this material world. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.46. Other processes such as pious atonement, speculative knowledge, and meditation, and mystic yoga might seem to help one to be free from material bondage, but people who follow them become attached to material activities again. Quote, many so-called swamis and yogis give up material activities as false, jagan mitya, but after some time they nevertheless resume material activities by opening hospitals and schools for protecting other activities for the benefit of the public. Sometimes they participate in politics, although still falsely declaring themselves sannyasis and members of the renounced order. Okay. 6.2.47 to 48. One who hears the story of Ajamil and describes it with faith and devotion is no longer doomed to a hellish life, regardless of his having a material body and regardless of how sinful he may have been. This very confidential historical narration has the potency to vanquish all sinful reactions. Wonderful. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.49. While the body is fit, we should chant the holy name of the Lord loudly and distinctly. If one does so, it is quite possible that even at the time of death, he will be properly able to chant the holy name of the Lord with love and faith. In conclusion, one who chants the holy name of the Lord constantly is guaranteed to return home, back to Godhead without a doubt. Wow. And now, answer the question. Since Ajamil was constantly chanting the name of Narayana, how was it possible for him to be associating with a prostitute and thinking of wine? In Ajamila's story, we see that Ajamila even though he named his son Narayana and called his name every day, he still continued to commit sinful activities, being with the prostitute, drinking wine, etc. This is like chanting and continuing to sin, thinking that chanting will nullify the sinful reactions. This is one of the 10 offenses of chanting the holy name that we read every day. The 7th offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Namnu balad yasaki papa budhir navidyate tasya yamarhi sudhi. To think that the Hare Krishna mantra can counteract all sinful reactions, and one may therefore go on with his sinful activities and at the same time chant the Hare Krishna mantra to neutralize them, is the greatest offense at the lotus feet of Harinama. According to this, Ajamila should be incurring more and more sin, as he was committing sins on the strength of holy name, and thus he is a nama aparadi, offender to the holy name. But that is not the case. In the supplementary note, it is clarified that one who continues to act sinfully and tries to neutralize his sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is a nama aparadi, an offender of the holy name. In response, it may be said that Ajamila's chanting was inoffensive because he did not chant the name of Narayana with the purpose of counteracting his sins. He did not know that he was addicted to sinful actions, nor did he know that his chanting of the name of Narayana was neutralizing them. Thus he did not commit a nama aparadha, and his repeated chanting of the holy name of Narayana while calling his son may be called more purely. Because of his pure chanting, Ajamila unconsciously accumulated the results of bhakti. Indeed, even his first utterance of the holy name was sufficient to nullify all the sinful reactions of his life. To cite a logical example, a fig tree does not immediately yield fruits, but in time the fruits are available. Similarly, Ajamila's devotional service grew little by little, and therefore, although he committed very sinful acts, the reactions did not affect him. In the Shastras it is said that if one chants the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, or future sinful life do not affect him. To give another example, if one extracts the poisoned fangs of a serpent, this saves the serpent's future victims from poisonous effects, even if the serpent bites repeatedly. Similarly, if a devotee chants the holy name even once inoffensively, this protects him eternally. He need only wait for the results of the chanting to mature in due course of time. Okay, very good, Samart. And 2, write in general what you learned from reading Srimad Bhagvatam 6th Canto, chapters 1 and 2 about Ajamila and chanting Hare Krishna. 1. The cause of all painful life is sinful action. 2. There are several methods to atone for sinful activities as recommended in Vedas, Karma Kanda. Such methods of atonement do not free one from ignorance, which is the root of sinful life. 3. One can try to be away from sinful life by practicing austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. None of these methods can free one from the tendency to commit sinful activities. 4. By bhakti yoga, one can completely avoid sinful reactions and also the tendency to sin. Therefore, the Vedic literature concludes that devotional service is more important than the methods of karma kanda and jnana kanda. Only the path of devotional service is auspicious for everyone. 5. The story of Ajamila proves the strength of devotional service, which starts with hearing and chanting. 6. The conclusion of chapters 1 and 2 is chanting the holy name, even unknowingly, without any material motive, even once, will liberate one from this material world. Thank you, Samart. Okay, very good. And then Sanmukh. Okay, we know what the homework is, so he begins. From verses 6.2, 45 to 49, Ajamila's story has been summarized. At first, he was a pure Brahmana performing Brahminical acts and following the religious principles, but because he saw a sinful act being performed, he gave up all his religious principles and at once decided to take up sinful acts. He performed many sinful acts and was destined to go to Yamaraj and suffer the consequences to his sins, but was rescued by the Vishnudutas just because he chanted the holy name of the Lord. Many people try to attain pure love for Krishna through many different methods, such as meditation and mystic yoga and speculative knowledge, but still the goal of cleansing the contamination in the mind is not possible, as explained by Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagvatam 6.2.46. Even though people believe that they have achieved the perfection they desire for, they have not. The actual process to attain real perfection is by chanting and hearing the names of Krishna. This is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.19. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobadayas jaya chetayatayanabitam stitvam sattve prasidati. As a result of Raja and Tama, passion and ignorance, one becomes increasingly lusty and greedy, but when one takes to the process of chanting and hearing, one comes to the platform of goodness and becomes happy. The verse 6.2.49 explains that the holy name has been given. Here are a few points. Just by chanting the names of the Lord and not meaning it will still give us the benefits of chanting the names of the Lord. At the time of death, it is very difficult to remember the names of the Lord. Hence, we should chant the names when the body is fit and has energy to do so to Krishna. During one's lifetime, if he or she chants the holy name of the Lord continually and with love and faith, is sure to go back home, back to Godhead without fail. Number 4, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that one who has committed a very great offense can be freed by just chanting of the holy name of Krishna. According to Krishna, one who has chanted the name of Krishna at least once will get his complete protection. One should not purposely perform sinful acts and try to eradicate them by chanting the names of the Lord. This is not true. Although Ajamil performed many sinful activities in his life, but because he named his son Narayana and didn't call his name without purpose of eradicating his sins, his chanting was not an offense, and he was therefore eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Just because Ajamil called his son Narayana, he was still able to advance further in Krishna consciousness. It is said that one who chants the holy names of the Lord at least once, the reactions of the past, present, and future don't affect him. If a devotee chants the holy name inoffensively, he is sure to be persuaded. The answer to this question is given in Srimad Bhagvatam 6.2.49. Prabhupada answers this question by stating that his chanting was not actually an offense. This was because he chanted the names of Narayana just to call his son and not to purposely counteract the sins he had performed. In the Shastras, there is a verse that states that if one chants the holy name of the Lord even once, the reactions of past, present, or future sinful life do not affect him. Therefore, Ajamil was able to go back to Godhead without fail. Very good, Samart, and Samuk. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have so now we're on chapter 3, and there's a summary of the chapter in the beginning, and we'll read that summary. So Yamaraj instructs his messengers. As related in this chapter, the Yamadutas approached Yamaraja, who very exhaustively explained Bhagavat Dharma, the religious principle of devotional service. Yamaraja thus satisfied the Yamadutas, who had been very disappointed. Yamaraj said, although Ajamila was calling for his son, he chanted the holy name of the Lord, Narayana, and simply, by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name, he immediately achieved the association of Lord Vishnu's order carriers, who saved him from your attempt to arrest him. This is quite all right. It is a fact that even a chronically sinful person who chants the holy name of the Lord, although not completely without offenses, does not take another material birth. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, Ajamila had met 4 orders carriers of Lord Vishnu. They were very beautiful and had quickly come to rescue him. Yamaraj now described them. The Vishnu Dutas are all pure devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Person, in regard to the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation. Neither King Indra, Varuna, Shiva, Brahma, the 7 rishis, or I myself can understand the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord, who is self-sufficient and beyond the reach of the material senses. With material senses, no one can attain enlightenment about the Lord, Krishna. The Lord, the master of the illusory energy, possesses transcendental qualities, for the good fortune of everyone, and his devotees are also qualified in that way. The devotees apparently take birth in different places in the material world just to save the conditioned souls. If one is somewhat interested in spiritual life, the devotees of the Lord protect him in many ways. Yamaraj continued, the essence of Sanatana Dharma, or eternal religion, is extremely confidential. No one but the Lord himself can deliver that confidential religious system to human society. It is by the mercy of the Lord that the transcendental system of religion can be understood by his pure devotees, and specifically by the 12 Mahajanas, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, Kapila, Manu, Prahlada, Janaka, Bhisma, Bali, Sukadeva Goswami, and me. Other learned scholars, headed by Jaimini, are almost always covered by the illusory energy, and therefore they are more or less attracted by the flowing, flowery language of the three Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur, and Sama, which are called Trayi. Instead of becoming pure devotees, people captivated by the flowery words of these three Vedas are interested in the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. They cannot understand the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Intelligent persons, however, take to the devotional service of the Lord when they chant the holy name of the Lord without offenses. They are no longer subject to my rulings. If by chance they commit some sinful act, they are protected by the holy name of the Lord, because that is where their interest lies. The four weapons of the Lord, especially the club and the Sudarshan Chakra, always protect the devotees. One who chants, hears, or remembers the holy name of the Lord without duplicity, or who prays or offers obeisances to the Lord, becomes perfect, whereas even a learned person may be called to hell if he is bereft of devotional service. After Yamaraja thus described the glories of the Lord, and his devotees, Sukadeva Goswami further explained the potency of chanting the holy name and the futility of performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and pious activities for atonement. Okay, so your homework for tomorrow is to read the first 10 verses of chapter 3. Actually, first 12 verses of chapter 3. And analyze what Yamaraj says and write a summary of it. And also look up on second canto, second chapter, 30, I think it's the 34th verse, and Srimad and the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, 42nd, 43rd verse, and write an essay. What is a Vedavada Rata? Vedavada Rata. Thank you very much. All glories to Prabhupada.
just